All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of reviewing of some major concepts and all those things in order to provide clarity. All right, so we're going to watch this, we're going to remember some things. I'm going to provide you an example on how to make a really simple PICO question, and then you guys are going to do the resubmission. So let's not forget, right? We have our PICO question here. So we have our P, our I, our C, and our O. Our P is our patient population or our problem. So who are they or what's the problem? For example, that could be ankle sprains. All right? Our I is our intervention or exposure. What are you doing to the patients? What are you exposing them to? What are you manipulating? All right? So what am I doing? So if we have our P as ankle sprains, then our I could maybe be ankle taping. All right? And then our comparison is what we're comparing to our intervention, not to our population. So what do you want to compare your ankle taping to? Why don't we compare it to nothing at all? We want to see people get taped. We're going to compare them to people that don't have taped, all right? So what are you comparing the intervention with? And then your outcome is what happens or what you're measuring. What do you want to know? I'm going to have some people, or I'm going to have ankle sprains. That's my problem. I'm going to tape some people. I'm going to not tape some people. So what do I want to know? Well, personally, I want to know if there's an effect on injury rates. So my outcome would be injury rates. It's what you're measuring, all right? So let's make sure we have some clarity on PICO and what all those aspects entail. So if we go ahead and look at our next slide, thinking about the two types of research, right? We have observational and we have experimental. If I go back here, since I have an I or an intervention, I know that I'm going to have to what? I'm going to have to do some form of an intervention. I'm going to have to manipulate something. If I'm manipulating, you guys know this, that means it's experimental. Observational is when I'm just looking and seeing what's happening, right? Experimental is when I'm manipulating or changing something. So a PICO question is going to make you have to create an experimental research question. You're not going to be able to do anything observational in nature. It's going to force you to do something experimental. So make sure that you're getting that clarity, or that might be what you're struggling with when you're creating your PICO question. You're wanting to do something observational, and you can't because it's not built that way. All right? It's forcing you to do something experimental. All right. And then lastly, I'm sure you guys remember this slide from the fall or ICAT 1. All of our variables. If we look at our plant, right? Our plant's growing, so we're using different things to water it, right? We have water, we have juice, and then we have soda pop. So the independent variable is the thing that you're going to change, the intervention, what you're manipulating, all right? So the liquid. If we look at our example, the liquid, all right? Our dependent variable is the change that happens. So what are you measuring? We're interested in the height of the plant, correct? So that's going to be what you're measuring. And then your controlled variable would just be your control. So in this example, it'd be water. And again, you're not really worried about this when we're doing this assignment, okay? You're really focused on identifying your independent and dependent variables. So if we go ahead and look at our PICO, parts of our PICO are going to line up. Our P, or sorry, we aren't going to have a P. It's going to be a problem. Our I, our intervention, is going to be our independent variable because it's the thing that we change. It's the thing we manipulate. Our comparison might also be that. We go back to my initial example of ankle sprains, right? We're comparing taping to nothing at all. Okay, so the manipulation or the taping intervention is that, all right? So it can also be a control as well. And then our dependent variable is what we're measuring, and that's our outcome. So we want to know the height of the plant. So when you're doing your assignment, your I and C should be identical to your independent variable. Your O should be identical to your dependent variable. They are the same thing. That's the purpose of the assignment, to make sure that you guys are properly identifying those things. All right? So our quick little review. So if we want to go ahead and now look at what the new assignment's going to look like, all right? So now we go ahead and we have, all right, this is going to be your new assignment, okay? So you guys are going to only create 2 questions, 1, 2, all right? So you need to watch the video announcement that I had about just feedback and resubmission, you need to watch this video, what you're doing now, and then you need to complete this worksheet. You can still work in pairs, all right? And so you're simply going to create 2 questions. That's it, about anything. And this is the key thing. Must be less than 5 words because you guys are writing too much. So if we go back to my example I provided in the video earlier, my problem are ankle sprains. My intervention would be taping. My comparison would be no taping. And I would be interested in ankle sprain injury rates. And now that we know that our independent variable is our intervention or our comparison, it would be taping, no taping. Our dependent variable would be ankle sprain injury rates. It's that basic. That's it. That's all I want. Less is more. Let's do another example. Say, for example, I wanted to do, let's do hamstring range, or let's do this. Decreased hamstring flexibility. All right, my hamstrings are tight. I might go ahead and provide static stretching. I might compare that to dynamic stretching. And so what do I want to know? Well, we often stretch people to improve their flexibility, right? Okay, so if my outcome was flexibility, that's not good enough, right? I have to change that because it's got to be measurable, right? So how do we measure flexibility? We look at range of motion. So see how I did that slight little change? You make sure that outcome is what you're actually measuring. So you're going to measure range of motion of the hamstrings or of hip flexion. So our independent variable would be static stretching, and then dynamic stretching, and then our variables, or dependent variable, would be range of motion. It's that basic, it's that easy, it's that simple. Less is more. I know you guys can do it. I completely believe in you. I can't wait to see what you do. All right? Look forward to the resubmissions. If you have any questions, please let me know.